It's 4 o'clock, so I'd like to call the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Service Committee meeting to order. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes? Move, second, and call the questions in favor, opposed, motion carry. So the next committee meeting will be on March 25th, 4 o'clock, the same place. And are there any additions or deletions from the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we go with our agenda. So item number 1, the Richmond Public Art Program 2024 annual highlights in the Advisory Committee 2025 work plan. Hey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here to present the report, nothing to add, and here to answer questions.
So any questions? Okay, Andy?
Thank you, and through the chair, thanks again for the report. A lot of good news in there. And I was just wondering about, well, really one thing right now on page 9 of the report, when you talk about the public art tours for the 3 different days and the cultural days. What's been the uptake on that, and how can you describe the success of the tours?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, the tours are pretty well subscribed, so we have a pretty big uptake. In fact, staff is working on creating a more wholesome program, a pilot program starting this summer, where we would like to have more regular public art tours because there's been quite a lot of interest.
Okay, good to hear. Thanks.
Is there good? Carol?
Thank you very much through the chair. I'm really thrilled that we're sharing that picture. It's such a beautiful painting, and I think it's a brilliant idea to share it with others, and what better place than Victoria. So, yeah, so thank you for your hard work on this.
No, you're ahead of us. This is next
Oh,
item.
geez, okay.
You're always ahead of us.
I'm always ahead, it's so true. Okay, sorry. Oh, you know what I'm going
Okay.
to say. How many times?
Move, seconded, call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. Now, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just thrilled to pieces that we're going to share it. It's great, yeah. Obviously, I'm enthusiastic about it, so yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to ask the question that whether or not this is a practice that when we lend out our paintings, we don't charge a fee. So is that the practice?
To the chair, to the chair, staff follows our lending process protocol, so there's no fee. In this case, all the fees are covered by the artist as per his request, and the artist will also have to cover appropriate insurance and shipping and handling practices as well.
Okay, and I also want to know if this is reciprocal. So when we borrow something from the other museums, is it always be free?
To the chair, public art doesn't typically borrow work from other museums. I don't want to speak for the Richmond Art Gallery. I believe that they don't pay fees, but I don't want to misspeak on their behalf.
Marie, you want to add something?
Is that working? Yeah. Yes, to the chair, a common practice in the museum field is for institutions to lend artifacts and things to each other with the borrowing institution covering the costs.
Yeah, that's very good. Laura?
Thank you through the chair to staff. Yeah, thank you for this. It's great to see it. I'm totally in support of it, obviously. I was just curious, maybe anecdotally or just unofficially, I mean, did Mr. Horton say anything about the mural in Steveston and have any suggestions or, like, I know it's a separate topic entirely, but just anything coming to light about that from his perspective?
Through the chair to Councillor Gillanders, we're just completing the report about this mural with options to council for the March PRCS meeting, so it is coming to you.
Okay. Save it
And
for
we're going to
that.
be in discussion with the artist.
Save it for that. Thank you.
Very good. Bill?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Interesting this come along. John gave up one of us prize paintings to us. There should be no question and no concern about Mr. Horton. I don't think people realize who he is. And he's probably the most well-known marine painter in the world. He made a huge mistake by moving to Delta after living in Richmond all the time. And I guess because for those of us who know, he was and still is a first responder on the boats as they go up the river and on the boat and on that. So lending him his painting back should be really no question. What I would love to see, if we could afford it, which we probably can't, is to obtain as many of his paintings as we can before he passes away. He's in his late 80s and fit as a fiddle, still on the boat, and his work is second to none in terms of capturing, especially the area of the Delta and Steveston. So if we got any extra pennies, and you have any requests, let us know. And if we can identify some of the originals that he might still have, be worth a while accumulating a number of them and have them displayed in the art gallery, whatever, and have a John Horton display. Exhibit on them. So anyhow, I'm totally in favor of it.
I have one more question. So are we thinking of finding a replacement painting for this site when this original one is being loaned?
To the chair, staff will be working with the Richmond Art Gallery to find an appropriate painting to be installed in the same spot during the time that the John Horton painting is going to be lent.
Okay, good. So, thank you. Do you have a mover?
So moved.
Move. Second, call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. And item number 3, South Dyke Trail enhancements around Crown packaging. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Staff has nothing to add to the report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so Laura?
Thank you. Through the chair, I have, thank you for this. It'll be really good to address that pinch point. It's definitely the tightest spot. And I think that we could go through with this and still pursue some other things, because I just don't, the intention behind the referral wasn't just to address the pinch point, but there was some talk about possible separation between bikes and dogs, like along the trail, perhaps some sort of a divider. I don't know if you looked at those kinds of options or if it's wide enough for that. You probably just determined that it wasn't wide enough.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, we explored the primary option that we explored was consistent with the remainder of the Dyke Trail, which currently doesn't provide separation between cyclists and other uses and is an average width of 3 meters.
So it's 1 meter narrower than the multi-use pathway.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad. The other part of it was, if you look at PRCS 24, the map at the bottom, below number 1, that's the waterfront there, and then the red line along to the left to the arrow is where the Bark Park starts. There, when we did the site visit and we walked along the new multi-use pathway, there was talk about if we could, right where that arrow is, carry on into that grassy area there for the bikes. And so then the bikes wouldn't have to go along the waterfront part there, just to give a little more space and buffer for people to use that area with their dogs. And contacting the owner of that property was probably going to need to happen too, because that gray part goes into his property a little bit. So did you look at that part of the referral at all?
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, are you referring to the green area just here?
Yeah, and so just the little gray round area at the on the green there's a bit of an unofficial trail that already goes through there.
Yeah.
And so we talked about having a more of a significant trail through there for the bikes, just as an option.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, yes, I think that informal trail or area that you're referring to, we previously had some discussion with the owner, and he was not in favor of providing public access to that kind of south area, triangular area. That was the discussion with the owner during the dike raising project. So in our response to the referral in this report, we mainly focus on providing where access is possible, where improvement is possible. If council wants us to further pursue, we can certainly have further conversation with the owner and see how it goes.
Okay, so after this, I would like to put in another referral, just to be more specific on that, because I know that that was what staff had said at the time when we did the walkthrough, but I have reason to believe that the owner is open to discussing it, and there was some maybe casual, not so specific direction for you guys to re-engage. So would like to see that. And then, not to take it, hopefully I'm not taking everybody's questions away, but just a question about the ALR. I don't see anything about this work having anything to do with needing to ask the ALR anything. Because you're allowed to landscape and remove blackberry and add gravel, and none of that has anything to do with ALR applications, as far as I know.
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, we did touch base with the ALC just to notify them of our intentions or exploration of trail widening within the area. It seemed like a pretty straightforward process that would be required, but they did note that an application would be required.
For what though? Like a non-farm use application?
That's correct,
Yeah.
non-farm use application.
It's so interesting because people, like a farmland owner, they can landscape their entire farm fields. Like they can make ponds with boats and wharves and like sprinklers and do anything, and they can't say anything about it.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Galanders. In our experience with various projects in parks, for example, the Guarantee lands, et cetera, right? Through those experiences, we've learned that the requirement for non-farm use is quite strict. So the examples you mentioned about activities that's really directly related to farm use, they're very open to those. But trails is not part of that farm use requirement, right? So so we've touch base with the ALC, and they told us that it shouldn't be a problem, but we still have to go through the process.
Okay, thanks. And then
Todd,
I was
do you
going to
have
talk
anything?
about blackberry, but I think Michael will probably do that.
So, Todd, do you want to add anything?
Yes, please. Through the chair, to Councillor Galanders, back to your comment about the triangle. We also avoided that area because it is in the sensitivity area. That entire section, both below the dike crown and to the left of the trail as it heads north, is all sensitive, so we can't go in there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Thank you.
Michael?
Thanks. First question is not the trail around Crown Packaging, but I'll get to questions on that. The first one might be more of a public works question, I don't know. Just looking at any of the maps, 24, 26, when are we going to be raising the dike along the frontage to the river of the Crown Packaging route?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, for that question, I will redirect that to our manager in engineering. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, currently there is no current plan, but we are in conversations with that property owner to explore options going forward.
Okay, then a follow-up through the chair. Do we have like a city right-of-way already, like, is that city land, that waterfront strip? Or do they own right up to the water?
To the chair to Councillor Wolf, yeah, the city does own some space in there through a right-of-way.
Okay, because I almost wonder, like with the $400,000 for this, if it's in a short term of an upgrade, because I know we've just kind of finished to the east around Woodward Slough, and we've done some upgrades to the west. Like if this is going to be done in short order, then it's a much quicker surfacing to create the connection with the east to the west. Yeah, do you have any idea on the timeline of?
No current timelines, but that is currently used through their business activities.
Right, for sure. Okay, that's it for that question then. Next, it does mention in the report on the summary table, 3 to 5 trees anticipated for removal. Are these in any of the photo areas? The one that I've stopped and admired and seen wildlife use the most is the one in picture 3, that tree right beside the trail there. And I'm just hoping that's not considered one of the 3 or of the 5. Do we have any?
Yeah. Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, you can see in photo number 4 is primarily trees that are growing right within the ditch bank. So in order to stabilize the bank and then widen the trail, those would have to be removed. But we can likely work around the tree that's included in photo number 3.
Okay, great. That brings me to my next question about retaining walls to keep water courses open and aquatic habitat remaining. Is that anticipated, as it does mention in the report table, that the environmental impacts would be minimized? So I assume we're not like filling any of the ditches, we're doing retaining wall style.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, that is correct. So we're looking at a technology similar to like gabion walls, just to stabilize that one edge of the bank, and the water course would remain open.
Great. And then when we did our site visit, there was eagle nesting sites, and as you mentioned, it's the tree removal is more in area 4, so I don't think we'd be doing much impact. And also to Councillor Glander's discussion there on that cutting through, that would probably be more of a disturbance to the eagle nesting habitat if we were to make a more well-used portion cutting that part of the land. And then my last one is around Blackberry. I know it's, I think, coming back in maybe March, Public Works. But I remember the last time I rode along here, I did get scratched by Blackberry while cycling. And I don't know if while we're doing all the work in these areas, we will also like physically remove the Blackberry and not just cut it down to the base. Is that at all in the strategy for this area?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, you're right, Blackberry is currently managed along the pathway just by pruning or trimming back, but it's certainly something we can explore through the trail enhancements. But most of it, is on private property outside of the SRW. So we would be limited to works within the SRW.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, in addition to that, we've also sent letters to inform the farm owner about our proposed work, as well as to Crown Packaging, so that they understand that this work upcoming will have some interfacing with their properties. So through continuous conversation, we'll also remind the farm owner, etc., that should they have that also under their own work plan, they can also help look at the Blackberry management.
Great, thanks. I'm glad you did that, and that's all for now.
Yeah, very good. So, Carol?
Thank you very much, through the chair. So this is a $400,000 budget, and we're only doing section 4, which is the pinch point. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes. We've also allocated some of the budget towards just general surface improvements, so a finer, less coarse gravel that is a bit more user-friendly.
Okay. So section 5, which is the section on the north side, there's a lot of space there, and that's indicated by picture 5 in the photos. And it isn't even really a ditch, it's just more of a gully. Is there some reason that couldn't be expanded and widened?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, the 400,000 represents the current capital budget that we have approved. Should council want us to explore further enhancements, we could put in additional capital requests.
It just seems a lot for such a short area. It says that the next step on page 21 would include procurement and consultant services, detailed design and further analysis of environmental and permitting requirements. What portion of the $400,000 is going towards those?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, that would not be part of the 400,000. We have another approved capital account that we can use for consultant services. So the 400,000 is just for construction.
Do we know how much is going to come out of the kitty for those services?
Not at this time, no.
I think we should know that. Yeah, and then when it comes to purchasing that I'm going to call it the triangle land that's owned by the farmer. If it is an ESA area, it can't be that expensive. And I understand that the owner is quite amicable to selling off that basically useless corner of land. And I think that, if I was a member of the committee, I'd be looking into that big time. The other thing that I think I would like to know is it was stated earlier by staff that we have some land on the south side of the Crown property. How much is some? And would it be possible to expand the trail just beyond the sum?
Can staff answer that question?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I'm not exactly clear what the exact width we have is, but we could look into that and follow up with information to council. But we also do, again, have their current business use on that space right now.
I realize that. I've seen they have like all kinds of machinery and whatnot, but if they're on our land, then it's our land, right? And I agree with Councillor Wolf. I mean, it'd be nice if that trail could just go straight through instead of having everybody dogleg around. So that's why I think we've asked about this numerous times, and I think we should dig into it. And maybe Councillor McNulty knows some of the history of the Crown packaging land, but surely there's answers out there. And, I think it'd be nice to know what's happening on that south side, so.
Now, I want to ask staff regarding this suggestion that we might consider purchasing the ESA lands. So what would be the process, or, what's the policy of, buying this kind of land for park use?
Through the chair, we would have to consult with our real estate department as far as that particular process. As of right now, given that it has very limited potential for any improvements to the site and or access, we were actually looking to delineate that section to restrict access into it. That's ultimately what should be happening. Should council direct us to pursue and investigate further, we are more than willing to look at that.
Okay. So any further questions? Okay, Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair, but just to clarify on the ESA area that you just were talking about, regardless of who owns it, you still have to contend with the sensitive area.
Yes.
And you're still restricted in what you can do there, correct? Regardless
Through the chair, that is correct, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so there's a staff recommendation. Move. Seconds. So call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. And Laura, you've got further.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, taking all that into consideration, I think that it's great that we are able to do trail improvements without having to make any additional arrangements with the owner. Like that makes it really, with the owner of the adjacent lands, that makes it really simple, and I'm really happy we can do that. But regarding that triangle portion, and I hear what you're saying, so we don't want to make a thoroughfare of cyclists through there, it's ESA. But then that kind of leads me to thinking we should look at options of purchasing it, even just to protect it, because really, Right to Farm Act supersedes ESA, so if that owner wanted to clear it for farming for whatever reason, they could do that, I think. Right? And so we might not want to see that happen, we might prefer it to be protected.
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, if the owner want to clear that area which is designated as ESA, they do have to submit application to the city, and there may be likelihood that it will be declined because of the condition. And depends on the proposal as well. So it's still up to the city to determine what.
We can't reasonably restrict farming because of ESA, though.
It's really difficult to say. It's not also our department to administer that process, but I do know that there's a process to vet their application.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice if that was part of the park? But I wouldn't want to see restricting access to it, like just from being able to walk in there. I mean, it's really magical to be able to just walk in there. So I would just like to investigate it. So if I would refer for staff to consult with the owner of that land to talk about possible purchase price and report back to council with options and feedback, what they said.
So move seconded. Any further discussion? Andy?
Yeah, thanks, and through the chair, as long as it generally involves what was just discussed, and that's, the process for farmers to go through to actually do something on environmentally sensitive areas, there is a process. My understanding is there is a process, and even when you're in proximity to large ditches and stuff and farmland, you still have to go through a process. So if they can explain that to us too, it might preclude the whole necessity of even looking at that. So as long as that's part of it, I can support it.
What the process around
Yeah.
it being ESA and what future possibilities there are.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I don't want to give the impression that we are thinking about buying it, right? I think that would be a different implication.
See what
Yeah.
the potential is, what the future potential is.
Yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, in addition to what you've just said, I'd like to also point out on the map on PRCS 24, the blue line to the north and west of that ESA area is a ditch. So for the owner to have any farming activity in the ESA area, they don't have access to it because they have to go through a ditch, which they cannot. So that's another complication if they want to do anything in that area too.
Good. So I want the staff to be clear about the intention of this motion. It's not really going to negotiate buying, right? It's really a general exploration. Okay, good. So call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. And then the item number 4, Parkville Neighborhood Park Renewal.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, staff has nothing to add to the report and happy to answer any questions.
Bill? Oh, Nora?
Thanks, thank you, through the chair. Thanks for this, it's a really neat layout. I like all the pictures and stuff that you did with the Burkeville, with the Sea Island community for their engagement, and it was great to see so many responses, that there's such an engaged community that care about what's happening, and so I think that was really great to see all of that. Just wondering about moving the ball hockey to share with basketball. How would that work as far as sharing it, first of all?
Through the chair to Councillor Gillanders, in terms of sharing of activities, staff is very careful in terms of exploring our options. We realize that there are two typical kind of side of sport activity, one with nets in the middle of a court, another one that involves kind of ball hitting, ball shooting, et cetera, right? So that's basketball, ball hockey versus tennis and pickleball. So in terms of sharing, we have that area, which is currently an existing basketball court with hoops on two sides. Potentially, in terms of sharing with ball hockey, we can potentially add ball hockey nets on the two ends that does not have any basketball hoops, so that they can play both ways. One activity can play when the other one can wait for the other activity, et cetera. Based on the observation, sometimes the players would just shoot on one hoop or shoot on one net. So it also allowed them to share play at that in that method as well.
Mm-hmm. And then would you be able to add, sorry, just one second, the fence around the outside as well?
Todd?
Okay. Through the chair to Councillor Gillanders, currently we don't have a plan to add fencing, really because we have a limitation on budget. And fencing, including footing, can get expensive. However, when we develop detailed design, we will also look at both needs as well as the availability of our budget to see what we can do. Another potential option is to only do fencing in some key areas and not continuously all the way around.
Were you going to add something?
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Gillanders. I just wanted to add that when we looked at the coordination of the activities, ball hockey and basketball were also the two lowest usages of the different sport activities. Yeah. That was also how we combined those two together.
Yeah, that makes sense. So more likely that they can share because they're not being used all the time. And that's great. And I know I heard from people in the community that the ball hockey is used and they didn't want to see it go, even though it's not as popular as some of the other things. It's still important to have all of it. And then maybe down the road, you know, if basketball is picking up or whatever, maybe that's the most inexpensive thing to add would be a few more basketball courts. And what the report says loud and clear is that we do not want any tennis reduction for pickleball. We want both. So you're addressing that, and that's great. And then I think I was going to ask about the water park, but I don't know, you're refurbishing the park, the water park, making it safer, like, better surfacing and whatnot, but we're keeping it. That's great. And, yeah, that's it for me for now. Thanks.
Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair, thanks for the report. I remember when it came up in the budget process, I was really happy to see this included because Burkeville has been waiting a long time for, I think, upgrades to their facilities, and they're relatively isolated compared to some other areas of Richmond. So this is all really good. I think one of the best things about it was the level of engagement that you've had and the inclusion of the different stakeholders in the process. I think that's going to pretty much guarantee that everybody is relatively as happy as they can be with the outcomes. So basketball and road hockey, the two things I play, I'm sad to hear that they're not as popular as some things, but I did wonder about the inclusion of pickleball because that is really popular, but also a little controversial depending on its placement and the sound and everything. So I trust that you'll be fully involved in mitigating that. Really happy to see the resurfacing and repairs that are going on and also the heritage aspect to it as well in the report. I think that's all going to be super interesting and unique to that part of Richmond. And so I don't have questions. I was just really, really happy with this report and glad to see it happening. So thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, thanks very much. A good report. Anytime we can improve facilities is a blessing. And whether it be in Hamilton and or Burkeville, and Burkeville being Kareem. I'm surprised we only put $600,000 for it. That doesn't give me 10 pickleball courts. But anyhow, we'll do our best for that. I was very happy to see, obviously you took the advice of the Sea Island Heritage Society in terms of the Shaping of Hands, a piece of art. It's actually, for those that haven't seen it, it's quite a unique piece of art. Symbolizes we are the world, in my opinion. It symbolizes inclusion and those things. And I hope that where you've got it is a prominent place, or where you're going to put it is a prominent place enough to it. And I hope there's enough descriptive aspect there of it. I think it's extremely important. One of the things that I also looked at is the historic signs of Burkeville, and Burkeville being very proud of what they have and where it came, but it's just a microcosm of what occurred on Sea Island. I'm sure very, very few in this room know anything about Sea Island, but you will shortly know what's happening. Yes, it was built as a war site by the federal government, and it did have numerous bases there in terms of Army military bases, primarily Navy, and was also an airport. It's unfortunate that Vancouver bought it and destroyed it, but I think it underscores the historical significance of Sea Island, and I think even in a park where people are going to, it's like the community center where people are going to frequent, that's how you can get your message across. So I think it's some thoughts there in terms of it. One thing I did like was the comments in the back. The people were able to say what they thought, what they knew. They lived there. There are very few what I will call original people in Burkeville. Not from 1940, but I'm talking even from 1970, 80, 90. There are very, very few pioneers, we'll call them, in Burkeville. But anyhow, I think it's a good report. It's a good start. The sports, I think the kids and everybody need those opportunities to go out, and the adults too. I didn't realize Hobbs played ball hockey still. Look out, look out, where's the first aid? Anyhow, but it's great, and I'm sure they'll be very proud of it, and the sooner we can get it done, the better. I thank you for the graphs, so anytime you can get visual feedback like that, it's more emphatic and more impressive that when you get the surveys as opposed to pie chart that doesn't, has it shown up. Here it is, shows you how it is. So anyhow, enough comments from me. Let's get on with the task and let's get it built. Thank you.
Michael?
A few questions through the chair to staff. First one, Larry Bird Flight Path Park, just a little bit down the road. That's fully financed and maintained by YVR?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any financing available from YVR for the Burkeville Neighborhood Park?
Through the chair to Councillor Wu, we have not explored this conversation with YVR, even though we did have other projects when we discussed with YVR on other improvement areas, etc. Staff could have that conversation with them, but at the same time, it would be quite impossible because they know that these are land that they own and this is land that the city own, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Great. So is that the direction? You're going to have that conversation, or do you need a council?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we regularly meet with YVR as a collaboration. We can bring that up with them and see if there are opportunities.
Okay, great, thanks. I partially bring that up because of what was mentioned there, like there's limited budget improvements, like maybe there's no curb around the hockey court. I grew up playing floor hockey, street hockey, roller hockey, and it's a real pain when your ball or puck rolls off the thing and you gotta run with your rollerblades onto the grass or the mud, and then it wrecks your bearings and all that stuff. And so anyway, that would be a simple, just a typical curb height that would wrap around. And I'm sure the cost would make this budget have to go higher. So the next one is the splash park. What's the surface of it going to be? It doesn't mention specifically what the future surface is going to be.
To the chair to Councillor Wu, currently the surface is a sport acrylic surface suitable for water park. What we are looking at is due to the age and condition, we want to improve also safety and accessibility to make, for example, cracks to go away, repair them, etc., etc. So that's what we're going to look at. We're not going to change the surface to other surface not suitable for water park. So we're going to maintain a water park surface.
Okay, so it's similar like King George Park, where it's that same kind of concrete painted surface, as opposed to like that rubberized one. So there's no change to that.
To the chair to Councillor Wu, yes, it's very similar to all the water parks in Richmond, like King George or Steveston.
Okay. Next question to the chair is in regards to, I guess this is my last question now, is the pickleball noise. I know people who've lived like this proximity to pickleball courts, and it drove them nuts. They ended up driving the pickleball courts somewhere else. So have you like specifically heard from the neighbors who are going to be close to the pickleball courts?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, yes, we have heard from the residents who live the closest to the current tennis court and the hockey courts, and they are in supportive of introducing pickleball courts to the location where the ball hockey court currently is.
Okay, got it in writing. Okay, thanks.
Carol?
A lot about pickleball and how noisy it is, so it's good that we're dealing with that ahead of the issue and not behind the issue. Well, we're getting a pretty big bang for our buck. What about crossing Airport Road? Is there going to be any kind of signal there?
To the chair to Councillor Day, so far we have not looked at traffic improvement. We can work with our transportation department to see if there's any improvement necessary for this area. So far, we have, through the engagement process, we've not heard about safety concerns from the local residents, but we can certainly look at that.
I was there for the last event, and there was a fair bit of cars going back and forth. If we can't do something that's going to for sure keep, especially children, safe, one of the things that I've seen in countries that I've visited is really simple. It's just a little tube on each end of the crosswalk with an orange flag. and you just pick up the flag, you walk across the crosswalk, you put it in the next tube. And it's a very simple, inexpensive way to make sure that people see the kids, and it teaches kids to pay attention, slow down, pick up the flag, and it's kind of fun. So I would like to see something like that for that crosswalk, because it can get quite busy, especially during, rush hour.
So any further questions? So moved, seconded, call the questions, in favor, opposed, motion carry. Yeah, thank you to the staff and also thank you to the residents, for your inputs. This is a very exciting project. I'm happy to see it going forward. Okay, managers' reports.
Thank you, and through the chair, we wanted to take this opportunity to remind the committee that tomorrow is Pink Shirt Day. Staff across the city, including those at Parks, Recreation, and Culture Facilities and Richmond Public Libraries, will be wearing pink to show their support for anti-bullying efforts and to champion the importance of being kind, supporting one another, and celebrating differences so that all citizens can feel safe and welcome in their communities. Throughout the day, a variety of pink shirt-related displays and activities will occur across the city, as well as be incorporated into existing programming such as licensed preschool and out-of-school care programs. All of Richmond is encouraged to wear pink tomorrow to help bring awareness and support against bullying. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeing none. Any further reports? No? Okay, so can I motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion approved. So the meeting is adjourned.